What is up, everybody? Welcome to AK Plays. I'm AK. Let's play.
Wow.
Alright, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how bad is the Division 2's PvP meta. And the reason that I phrase it in that negative connotation is because there are so many people that are being very, very critical of this meta. Now, in some regards, I think that they are correct, and in others, I think that it's a little bit premature and we're kind of jumping the gun. First, I'm going to talk about why I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. And the reason for that is there's a lot of people that haven't even gotten to PvP, let alone having perfect builds, and further than that, having perfect meta builds. So I feel like we're a little early in that regard, plus World Tier 5 is right around the corner, like I'm talking very, very soon here. And we also are having gear sets come out with that, we're having new gear, everything's going to change, and the developers are going to probably be fixing the talents, some of the bugs and things, and mechanics that I think probably aren't working as intended. So I would imagine there's going to be some serious meta changes, and not to mention the skill power and the skills are probably going to change considerably. So I'd imagine that there's about to be some huge meta shifts. So this could be outdated very, very soon. However, for those of you that are playing PvP day in, day out, you're still going to have a few days of dealing with this, and so it's kind of, I think, relevant to talk about it. Now, the idea of how this is all happening and why people are upset is because of the meta builds. And the meta builds right now, I wanted to make sure I used them and fought against them before I talked about them, and at this point now I have, so I'm comfortable to talk about it. The first one is the Vector build, and we've all fought against it, we've seen it. It is the Vector build that relies on your armor going down to get you damage and healing over time through your clutch on your gloves. Very, very strong build and has its pros and its cons. I'll talk about it more in depth after I talk about all the builds. Second one is the one-shot builds. That is the one-shot sniper and the one-shot shotgun. Both have advantages and disadvantages. I will talk about them in a little bit. And then the next is the shield build. The shield build has a bunch of different variations, but basically it relies on a shield skill and either a pistol, sawed-off shotgun, or a Vector. That build, and then there are a couple other builds that are kind of on the fringe of being meta, and I would say that that is the LMG build and the rifle build. Those are both very strong, however, nobody's really complaining about them quite yet. However, I think that if more people used them and the right people fought against them, I think that you could see a shift in what people are considering OP. However, at this point, everyone's mostly complaining about the Vector, the one-shot builds, and the shield builds. However, it is important to realize that the skills do play a big role, especially the one skill that's making a lot of people upset, and even myself I'm not a huge fan of, is the Defender drone. The Defender drone is very, very important, and it comes back every time you die in skirmish, and it just kind of feels like it swings the advantage to whoever has the Defender drone in a huge way, in the point that it's almost standard issue to the point of you need to run it. And I don't think that skills should be like that. However, I mean, I understand it. So, I mean, this isn't a video to talk about big changes necessary or things like that. It's more just to summarize the meta and kind of what I think of it. So, Defender drone, not a huge fan, but it's there and everybody has the ability to use it. It's just kind of gross that it swings the whole favor of the fight to whoever has the Defender, which in some cases, especially in skirmish, is whoever died last. So it's a little bit frustrating. And then the other thing that is kind of annoying, that's more gameplay oriented, not as much meta oriented, is the skirmish, where you lose 20% of your crit chance as long as they've unlocked their that ability from their specialization. If they've done that and they've gained that negative 20% crit chance to you, that feels a little dumb because you have to completely change your build so you don't have a crit build when you go into skirmish now, at least in my opinion. And then the supply drops in skirmish. I think that's very dumb. I think that it should be PvP and PvP only, not a hey, let's race to the supply drops. I think that's very dumb. There could be a whole game mode where you have that, but I just don't see how it has a place in skirmish or domination, especially because that can drop very, very favorably for one team and very horribly for the other. So, not a big fan of that. But back to the meta and the meta builds, because that's more important about what we're talking about here. So, I'm going to go more in depth on the Vector build. The Vector build is very strong in its right. If it is on low armor, they're in their health bar, they're using it correctly, and it's a good player running it, they will be unbelievably OP. However, if they are at full armor, they will not hurt you. Those Vector builds do not hurt when you have full armor. And then if you have someone who doesn't know how to use it very well, you're going to be able to beat them. They will try to fight at their armor, they will get nervous when their armor goes down, they won't be confident in their fighting in their health bar, and you'll be able to sneak in shots in their reloads. So the Vector build is good in the hands of a good player, and it's not that good in the hands of somebody who doesn't properly know how to use it. So I think that build, as much as it's taking a ton of flack, I don't hate that build all that much. I think that one is more kind of depending who's using it than it is the build itself. Now, the next thing is the one-shot builds. The one-shot sniper is extremely powerful. It hits so hard, and it really doesn't need you to stack everything into sniper damage, headshot damage, anything like that to one-shot. Now, it does require one-shot headshot. I haven't seen anybody one-shot to the body yet. So, in that regard, it takes some skill. And that's why I'm okay with that happening. However, I think that it needs to be stacked into headshot damage, marksman rifle damage. Everything has to be into snipers for you to be able to one-shot headshot. I don't like it in the current way where if you just run a sniper on basically any damage build, you can probably one-shot headshot. If you do some things correctly. There's some basic things that you do, and all of a sudden you can one-shot headshot. So I think that it needs to be tuned a little bit so that you need to really try to stack into marksman rifle to be able to one-shot headshot. But after that, I'm a little bit okay with one-shot headshot, just because it feels like if you take the time to snipe and become good at sniping, especially on consoles, to hit headshots isn't super easy. So that's something that if you hit that and if you have everything into snipers, I think that's fine. It's just right now the fact that you don't need everything into snipers that makes it a little bit iffy. But the reason people don't like it, obviously, is because nobody wants to die to a sniper rifle from 200 meters out when they're in a fight with somebody else, or they're minding their own business, or they're fighting NPCs. It's just something you don't want to die to because you want to be prepared for the fight. You want to have time to react, and snipers don't really allow you to do that. So I don't know. I think that that's something that if you just made it so the snipers had to be really put everything into to be able to one-shot headshot, that would fix the issue. Just because you'd have to have perfect rolls and everything, and they would have to not be running a tank build for it to function. So I think that would be the good fix. Next is the one-shot shotgun. Now, I actually made a build video on this the other day, so I'm part of the problem on this one. The one-shot shotgun is a double-barrel shotgun build, and there's a couple different variations of it. The one that I put out, and then there's a few other ones that I've seen people using, and it definitely achieves its goal. There are ways to use one-shot shotgun builds, and I can tell that they're definitely something that you don't want to die to. I've fought a couple before myself, and it does feel a little bit unearned that you die in one shot to a shotgun when they might have come up behind you while you're fighting someone else, that they might have caught you by surprise. It's the same idea as the one-shot sniper in that you don't have time to react or deal with it. And most people don't want to fight like that. That just is not fun. So for the shotgun, I don't think it should one-shot, even to the head. I think that should be a two-tap. Onto the shield. Now, the shield is the problem. I think that it's basically the D3 shield from early 1.6 in the Division 1, where it dished out a bunch of damage, survived really well, and now basically it can just redeploy, which I think is kind of the issue. If they make it like Division 1, where if you throw away the shield it goes on cooldown, that may help things. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know your perspective in the comments, and let me know if you have any questions. And I'll catch you tomorrow.
Oh my gosh! Stop!
Oh, we're here. We're here.